I'm at a Dutch Bros Coffee in Mesa, Arizona, where all day long the drive-thru is humming with cars. That's because Dutch Bros is leading the beverage revolution that's happening all across America. Now, Dutch Bros started as a humble drive-thru only coffee shop in Grants Pass, Oregon in 1992. And for the first 3 decades, it really just kind of grew slowly across the West Coast. But for the past 5 years, it's been one of the hottest brands in America. In 2021, they filed for their IPO, and in 2024, according to Technomic, Dutch Bros closed the year with over $2 billion in sales at about 1,000 locations. How is it doing this? How has Dutch Bros become so popular and drive that revolution that's happening across America with beverages? We want to find out from Christine Barone, the CEO of Dutch Bros, how the company is pulling this off. We're also going to find out from her what is her signature leadership style. But first, we've got to grab some beverages. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to try some Dutch Bros beverages.
Heck yeah, I love to hear it.
Yeah, so you guys, what's the most popular thing here?
To be honest, ever since we came out with the promotional items, the dulce de leche and then the matcha has been popping off, to be honest.
Okay. So hospitality is key to Dutch Bros. All of these drive-thru only coffee brands have these outside order takers, these people who are facilitating these great experiences. Because that's how you differentiate, right? If they all have these beverages on the menu, how you differentiate is through your hospitality, your friendly service. So they're creating this great experience in the drive-thru lane that's not just a transaction. It is genuinely an experience. Christine Barone, the CEO and president of Dutch Bros Coffee. Thanks for sitting down today.
Sam, thanks so much for being here in our building with us.
To get to know you as a leader, we got to start at the beginning. So let's go back to your childhood. What was your childhood like?
What was my childhood like? So lots and lots of kids. My mom did in-home daycare. And so I always grew up I'm the oldest of 3, and then we always had lots of other kids in the house with the in-home daycare. So from a very young age, I was organizing activities, doing crazy things like painting the trees in the neighborhood. We had our own library in the basement that we organized and had kids in the neighborhood check out books. So I had a wonderful childhood. And when I was younger, I actually wanted to work at a particle collider. And so I went to college to be an astrophysicist. And here I am with coffee.
So investment banking, tell me about your couple of experiences early on.
Yeah.
How that formed you as a leader.
Yeah, so I think, investment banking, early on, you have a lot of responsibility and you're working a lot of hours. So you, in the span of 2 or 3 years, you have 4 to 6 years of experience already. I think you learn the importance of really getting things right because when someone's taking their company public, you can't miss a number. And they have to be correct. I also think there's just a foundation of understanding how a P&L works that was instrumental kind of as I grew through my career.
Sure. So I know that then you end up at Bane. And Bane obviously is this renowned organization that has turned out a lot of leaders. Yeah. I imagine that was like a crash course in leadership and management, but how would you describe that experience?
Yeah, so I think a lot of things I learned at Bane. So one, I think you become a bit fearless because you're working in all different types of industries and you become really good at problem solving. And so looking at, what is this company trying to do? How can we help them do that? And you start to learn the patterns across different industries and across different companies. And I think that that's also served me very well. Every experience I've had has, I think, led up to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. Starbucks, though, I mean, you must have learned a lot about the restaurant industry, food and beverage, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, through that experience, did you fall in love with the restaurant industry, I guess?
Yeah, I think that I'd always been in love with hospitality, thinking through, at every stage in a customer's journey, how are they going to feel? And how does this make them feel? And so that piece, I think, started even earlier than Starbucks, even though that sounds weird, maybe as a consultant, but I think that's always been a part maybe of who I am or who I want to be. And I do think it's super important as a leader to keep every all the time be thinking about what am I really great at and what am I not so great at?
Sure.
And making sure that like as a company and as a team, you're surrounding yourself with folks who are compliments to you, and telling them like, hey, I'm not as good at this. Can you help me here?
Yeah. So then your first CEO role is at True Food Kitchen.
Yes.
Tell me about that experience, because as CEO, that's a cool experience, right? I mean, that is the chief executive position. Did you want a CEO role, I guess? At that point now, you're in food and beverage. You had some years under your belt in your career. Was that the objective?
I would say, I don't know if CEO was the objective, but I think stretching myself, learning a new industry, because actually QSR, fast casual, is quite different than full service.
Yeah.
And so it's almost learning a new language, figuring out behind and having a 30-foot line, and cooking with heat and fire and all that fun stuff. And so I do think it actually stretched me in a lot of different ways. I also think something that has been key for me is getting to see kind of the biggest of the big. And when I joined True Food only had 12 restaurants. Yeah. And so really understanding kind of the nuts and bolts of how everything happened, what it takes to build a restaurant from the ground up.
How would you describe your leadership style?
I would say that I am I'm a collaborative leader. I am always working on myself. I think, if we are growing at 30% a year, I, as a leader, need to grow myself at more than 30% a year. And so making sure I'm creating an environment where we are all open to giving each other feedback, that we're all one team, and that, we're not creating silos across the company, but we are all serving our broistas and our field in the best way possible. So I'm really thoughtful about making sure that we are together as one. We all know what the priorities are, and that we're all pitching in when something needs to be done.
I believe as you came in as president in 2023, I believe. Yes. You were named CEO about a year and a half ago. Yeah. So again, you're on the outside looking into this brand. Now you're part of it. And again, it must harken back to your days at Starbucks. You know coffee pretty well. What did you think was possible with Dutch Bros when you came here?
Well, I think that every brand is really different. And, we like to think, okay, there's similarity in beverages, but I think the culture and the feel of every brand and what we're trying to do and who we're trying to connect with is very different. And so, when I came in, it was learning about, why is Dutch Bros so magical? Why is it so special? And I think really spending the time to think that through and to understand, what things do we need to do better to serve our field better? And then what things do we need to keep exactly the same? Or maybe even enhance and make better, because they're such a special part of who we are. And so coming in, I think that you take your lessons from everything you've done before, but every company and every situation is really unique. And I think taking the time to understand what is the heart of what you're trying to do is super important.
Okay, now it's time for where the rubber really meets the road here.
Oh, okay.
This is time for our short order section of questions, really the lightning round. We really get to know the real Christine. All right, ready?
Okay.
What's your go-to order at Dutch Bros?
So my go-to order at Dutch Bros right now, because it does change, is a small iced protein milk latte with about 4 ounces of chocolate milk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That does sound delicious. What's your favorite restaurant besides Dutch Bros?
True Food.
Okay, there you go. Harken back to the old days. What was your first job in the restaurant or food and beverage industry? I think I know the answer to this, but was it Starbucks?
It was Starbucks, but I kind of count my first job in hospitality.
Okay, sure.
When I was in high school, I worked at a clothing store, and I steamed clothes and wrapped presents.
I'm sure you picked up a lot in retail, that experience that you brought with you. Okay, what is your favorite thing to do in your spare time?
Watch what my kids are doing and what they're focused on, and going to improv shows of my daughter, all those kinds of fun things.
That's cool. It's unique. I like that. What's your favorite sport or team to root for?
Okay, so it is Juventus, because that is my husband's favorite team.
Okay.
And my life is much better when they win.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Feeling. Changes the mood when they lose. Yeah, I get that. All right, so I'm sure you fly a lot. So let's say you're on a long flight. When you have all these hours ahead of you, do you choose podcast, book, Movie, show, music, what do you turn to?
Okay, I definitely mix it up.
Okay.
I think I always like a good happy movie though.
What was the last TV show that you binged?
So I can't binge watch.
Oh, okay.
It's like have way too of a short of attention span.
Got it.
But the show that I'm watching right now is the new like Stanley Tucci show on exploring the food through Italy.
Yep.
Love that.
Italy plays a big role in your life.
It does. It does.
I get that. That makes sense. Barone, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. What is one resource that you could not live without as a business leader?
I would say like my personal board of directors and thinking through the folks I call who I know when I'm on the border of like, what does this feel like? The ones who will actually super challenge me and say, you're not right. And I think those having people that will challenge you as a leader is super important.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Besides email, what is the most used app on your phone?
The Wall Street Journal app.
Okay.
And I love like exploring patterns and seeing what's going on in other industries. And then I think nowadays so much changes.
Yeah.
It's important to stay up to date.
Got to be educated. That is absolutely right. Okay, what is one fact about you that maybe even your team does not know?
That I was captain of my water polo team in college.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know any other water polo players, so you're my first. All right, last question, Christine. If you were not the CEO of Dutch Bros or of any other restaurant company, what would you be?
There are so many things I think I would love doing. And so that one's actually a hard question for me. But maybe I'd be working on a particle collider.
That's right.
Back to where we started.
You could have been that physicist,
Yeah,
right?
could have been a physicist.
Christine Barone, thanks so much for sharing your signature style.
Thank you.